Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and once again it is time for my client Michelle's vlog, and this is going to be a long vlog because she wanted to include some of her ab work and stuff, so it's in there. We started the week off with a closed grip bench press against lighter chains, and keeping in mind she has the closed grip bench to do some shoulder stuff, and some of you, when she's up close to the camera, you can see the scar on the shoulder, the surgical scar. So she just got limits as far as grip, range of motion. Although she was telling me the other day, which she thinks is interesting, I'm the first coach she's had where her shoulders don't hurt. In other words, she's had other people coach her, and she always had shoulder pain and stuff, but she has noted that it is perfectly fine right now, which is good. And that's what I told her. We account for this stuff. It's just part of coaching. We look at the history, look at the movements you can do. We look at overall inflammation, overuse. We program around this stuff. Again, that's part of what you do as a coach. You're not giving out routines. All right. After the bench press, she did floor presses. And then I'm having her do chin-ups. All right, having her do some chin-ups this week. And normally I don't like a lot of supine grip stuff, but you know what? I think a little bit doesn't hurt anyone. I don't like it to be a mainstay, particularly for masters lifters, but she's not quite a masters yet. And she's really good at chin-ups. I'm like, well, let's get a few of these in. And then, of course, she can do dumbbell rows and other stuff to, build the rest of the back. And then we're doing upper back and shoulder work. So we're letting her work on those a bit. Now we're going to work in JM presses as well. We spent months doing all the band press downs, and the idea is to build the tendons around the elbow. Okay, it's to build those tendons to strengthen the elbow so that we can do really serious tricep work like this. And for her, being a close grip bencher because she has to, these JM presses are going to carry over a lot. Now what she's doing is almost closer to a skull crusher, so I'm having her work on getting those knuckles up, and eventually I'll tell her, look, we want to do these inside of a bench with a normal barbell over time, but we need to be strong enough to do a 45-pound barbell. And I don't know if they have any of the women's training bars there, but so she's just now getting in and doing this heavier tricep work like this. All right, afterwards we are doing one-arm dumbbell rows. And then, of course, we do shoulder work. We do some shoulder work. So she's here doing, I believe these are her bent over rows. I have been having her do both laterals and bent over rows on max effort day. And then I have her do a little more interior delt focus on the other. And like I said, eventually I may take her over to just a shoulder circuit. But I don't think we want to do that while she's still doing some overhead pressing. I am having her do the seated press with the dumbbells, which a lot of my lifters do. And a lot of them, I have them do those sort of shoulder circuits to where, we do all three raises in the same workout. Sometimes we'll superset them. Sometimes we'll superset them with tricep work. But the idea for a lot of people who really need the shoulder, it's not a bad idea to do it. And if anything, we could argue for people who are chasing a look, it's the one thing that might get neglected a bit on a really good strength training program. So if you're not doing any upright rows or lateral raises or even rear delt flies, you may come up short in that regard. All right, you might not have that look that you want, which is actually completely achievable even on conjugate programming. You guys have seen some of my other lifters who have great physiques, probably better physiques than I'll ever have, who use this programming. All right, we started her max effort lower off with a pin squat below parallel. And I believe she got 245, and we got the other week, we got a 265, squat to depth. So we know that come meet time, she's at least 265, and we want to get that up. Realistically, by her next meet, I'd like to see a 285. That's where I'd like to see her at. All right, afterwards, we do safety bar good mornings, which is great for upper back, posterior chain, and we're just doing the regular version of these. I have some lifters do different variations and break it up a little bit. In her case, we're just doing a nice shoulder width, no pins or slings or anything involved, and again, it's a good balanced movement to do it with the safety bar because it does work a little more upper back. And then we work the entire posterior chain and a hip hinge when it's done correctly. All right, having her do goblet squats these days, and she's using like 70, 80 pounds. I think she said, yeah, she's using 70 pounds this week. Again, pretty dang good. All right, so why the goblet squats? They teach you to stay upright a little more when you squat. They work hip mobility. And usually anyone, when I get a lifter who's complaining about hip or knee inflammation, the goblet squat is a great lift to use for this. And I've had a lot of people do it in the past. Actually, I think you guys are going to see Michelle and Emma both doing them in their vlogs this week. And it's not that I'm on a trend with these. It's just that I've always used them. You guys have seen other lifters do them in their vlogs for months. They just both have some similar situations to where I think they'll benefit at the moment. Okay, in Michelle's case, she was struggling to hit depth. I want to get a little more quad and adductor work, really the adductor, and we can go real wide on those goblet squats. And I think more with Emma, it's the case of she gets a lot of hip inflammation if we do too many split squats for too long. And so we need to change that up just to adjust for that. All right, so afterwards, Michelle does glute ham raises there, and then we finish off with reverse hypers. And I'm always a fan of finishing with reverse hypers. Everyone knows I'm a big fan of this machine. I just bought an upgrade. I am giving my old one away to a friend who could really, really use it, here in town. And so I bought the Rogue upgrade. I bought the heaviest one they have. I can always add a GHD attachment to it. So that shows how much I love this device. And I bought a budget one before, giving it to someone I know could benefit when I buy a better one. That's how much I believe in this device. I put my money where my mouth is. All right, speed bench against chains. And I need to start working in some bands for her soon, but I want her to get really used to the chains, and then we'll start switching it up on her. I know I'm being like that. I rotate bands and chains back and forth. But we've had to pull the sumo out in general, even on the speed work, because it does really bother her hamstring a lot. Which is unfortunate because she had broke 300 pounds on that sumo also. All right, more JM presses here. Again, build the triceps. And as she builds her arms up a little bit, she won't be able to go as deep. So some people might note this and say, she's going really, really deep, even when we're keeping her knuckles up a little more. And it's, again, she doesn't have big, massive, meaty arms, so her range of motion is going to be a little bit different. Right? It's going to be a little bit different. And that may change some too when she gets on a bigger barbell and we do these inside of a bench correctly. But again, we're just getting started on them. All right, afterwards we do chins. We do the chin ups, and she's pretty good at chins. Most of you may have noticed this while watching. She can do a lot of them. And that's kind of what I want to see. I mean, I see that with a lot of my girls. 300 plus pound deadlifts. Being able to do 10 plus chin ups or pull ups. Right? That's what we want. Right? I think that's realistic expectation for ladies who work hard. Okay. Performance-based goals, though. All right. She does seated dumbbell presses next. Again, a little bit of anterior delt focus because we need that. Right? And we need that upper chest. Upper chest and anterior delts are very, very important for the closed grip benching, simply because we're using less of the lower pectoral on it. Not dramatically less, but it is slightly less. All right, we follow that up with plate front raises. All right, so again, hitting the front delt and most of the shoulder girdle. It is less focus on the posterior and the lateral than the other day, but we're still, hitting most of the shoulder structure with a couple different exercises. And again, comes back to what I do try to tell people. They're like, what's the best exercise to do for any muscle or any head of a muscle? It's like 2 different exercises, right? And instead of getting caught up in this, what's the best exercise? That's nonsense. right? Best exercise, one that works the muscle. And it's even better to do two. And in some cases, possibly three different exercises, depending on the complexity of the muscle. All right, so she's including some of her various ab work that she likes to do. She likes to do a wide variety of ab stuff. We show the toe to bar sometimes, but she changes things up. Again, just to avoid some monotony, to avoid overuse, she likes to do a few different things. So in this case, it's like a hanging leg raise. It's a knee up against bands. Again, puts more tension at the top. Deal with a little possibly over-speed eccentric as soon as you lower it. Not a bad movement. And here she's going to display one of the few decent uses of a Smith machine. I don't like Smith machines. Everyone knows this. But in this case, hey, you can train your abs on it. You can train your abs on a Smith machine. And this is a pretty hardcore ab exercise. Pretty hardcore. Keeping in mind she does a lot of this stuff, and I let her just kind of pick her ab work because she has different routines she likes to do, stuff she learned back when she was boxing. Stuff she learned when she was boxing. Because again, you need to have a strong core when people are hitting you in it, especially for multiple rounds in a fight. It could matter. And of course, it will help with the powerlifting, that ability to brace. All right. Dynamic lower day, we do speed boxes against chains, and she was happy this week. First thing she did when she did these, she was, look how far I can sit back now. So we're seeing those improvements there, right? Because again, what we want to be able to do is to sit back. And by sit back, I'm not talking about your shoulders coming back. I'm talking about your hips coming back, right? You don't want to have any interior knee travel, because we don't want that on a power squat. And it's not about, people say, oh, all these myths about knees over toes. That's not the point. Well, that could be the point as far as overall inflammation, but it's the issue of lifting the most weight. Right? We're not even talking about muscle stimulus at this point. It's about lifting the most weight. And that should be your goal as a power lifter. So if we're going to do some box squatting for speed, ideally our goal is for it to teach you to power squat. And that ability to sit back is oftentimes limited by our hamstring strength and development. And in her case, we've struggled with hamstrings, glutes, adductors. Those have been her limiting factors, right? Those have been her limiting factors, big time, as far as getting her squat and deadlift up even higher. And I know they're good. They're good now, but she doesn't want good. Her goal is elite. Our goal is to win meets. All right, so then we do more goblet squats. Then we finish up with glute ham raises and reverse hyperextensions. So I hope it has been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.